Well, hello everybody. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you had a good weekend, I guess it actually is. Tonight we're going to be out here in the solar shed. I've got a couple of really good computer views for you. So I don't know if this camera here seems to be working pretty good. So I've got a couple of different views here. So I've got the side view here, which gives us a good view of the mess and the counter and the batteries and everything that's on it. And then we've got the up close view of the workboard, which allows me to show you, really get close with what we're going to be working on tonight, and how we're going to do. We've got two different systems going on here tonight. Then I got a couple of picture-in-pictures, which kind of gives us a little bit better view of what's going on there. I also want to welcome the vertical users tonight. I hope a few of you come here to hang out and enjoy yourselves. The vertical show is also live. I think we're simulcasting tonight, so we'll see how that goes. I think I've done only one vertical live stream before, and I didn't do it for very long. I just played with it for a little bit. So I want to kind of give it a chance here to see some people show up. So good evening all. Let's see, Chuck, I see you out there. Let me see if my messages and everything are all working tonight. You've got given me the perfect opportunity. Let's see if that does it. That should be good evening all. Good evening, Chuck. Good to see you. Looks like that's working just fine. Sorry for me looking off over that way. I've got a monitor screen over in that direction, and this is where the camera is. So this is the camera that the vertical users can see me on also. So I've got a little bit of a dilemma there, but the large screen here is nice. It is going to give you guys the view of the mess, and I'm assuming everybody can hear me okay. If you have any hearing problems, let me know. I'm pretty sure I've got the mic turned on everywhere for all of them, and it is right here, the lapel mic right here on my thing, so it should be the right volume all night, regardless of which direction I'm pointing. Anyway, I wanted to go over a little bit of fun stuff this week. One of the things I did, I'll see if I can switch to this camera here, or this computer screen. That way everyone can see what I've got. I bought my wife a little bit miner. Off of, believe it or not, I got this little baby off of, it says 669,000. I thought it actually had said I found a Bitcoin. I saw that red. I'm like, oh my God. So I got my wife this little bit miner. It's one of these little solo ones. It's kind of fun. It was, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks off of AliExpress. Took about 3 or 4 days to get here. Doesn't process real fast. I mean, you can see there it's 1,038 kilohash, I guess it is, 1,000 hash. It's not anything like the big bit miner that we use over there, but it's a lot of fun, and it runs off a little USB port. As you can see, I've got it plugged in here just to this little USB port so I can show you. I just hooked it up for my wife earlier today and gave her the rundown on it, on how it worked and everything. And she wants to go into a shared pool as opposed to the public pool that we're in here now. So that will be interesting. We'll go ahead and see how that works. I don't know what she'll make, but I'll give you guys the report on it either way. It'll be fun to do it. Let's take a look at today. The last couple of days, I've had really good days with, see if this screen works too. Yeah, it looks like it does. Let's just see what I got here. Let's see, it's over here. There we go. All right, so on this screen here, I've got the Quai. I've been bit mining Quai every day, as you can see down here. When the sun comes up, I've been getting about 25 to 30 kilowatts a day. We can take a look at that if you like. Just kind of giving you an overview of everything going on before we get to the fun of the night, which is actually going to be working on this system behind me. We're going to do a real, do some switcheroo and move some stuff around. But if we take a look at the actual energy here, so today we got 28.8 kilowatt hours. We used 29.3, and that is because some of it was sucked out of this battery system here into the main system from last night after being, like, I was gone for the weekend at an event with my wife. And so you can see here we used a little bit of excess battery power. I did use almost a kilowatt of grid power this morning. This morning when I got up, I was like, oh, my batteries are too high. I need to bring them down so that it doesn't overflow, because what I've found is that it's generating so much now that if I get it down to about 20%, it runs up to about 95%, and then it burns off the rest. And so I may have to go up to a higher full speed on the bit miner if I can't figure out a way to either A, get some bigger battery banks, which is what I'd like to do. I think I'll just add another 13 kilowatt hours or another 15 kilowatt hours and see if that would give me enough leeway to store it all and then just burn it after the sun goes down. Because as you can see, if I look at, probably see it best when I look at the solar assistant. Let's see, home assistant, I want solar assistant. So what is that? There it is. So under the solar assistant here, you can see here, that bit miner started this morning really early, 7:20, and it ran all the way up, and when the sun came up and surpassed it here, and you can see it climbed and rose all day, and then it ran all the way until, was that 5:30 or so? Now, yesterday it ran a lot later. Yesterday it ran until 10:08. So it's been doing real good, but we've been generating about 25 to 30 kilowatts a day. Been burning it off. I need 76. No, actually I need 50. I need 2.1 kilowatts an hour. I got 24 hours, which is 48.1. I need probably about 52 kilowatts a day to run it nonstop. But the trick is I've got to be able to, as you see on this screen here, I've got to be able to store it during this block right here. Or if I can't store it during this block in the middle where it's high, then I can't use it later on. So, and if I align that with the state of charge, which is, let's see if I got it here, you can see today we only made it up to, didn't make it up that high. And that's really the wrong chart for state of charge. That one's not the shunt. That one is the, but today we didn't make it up that high. If I look at state of charge today, we only made it up into 70% or so. But if I look at yesterday, we were running at 91, and if I go back to the day before, we were running at 97%. So I am truly 25 to 95%, and it is still February. I'm not coming close to generating all the power I can generate. So I'm really looking forward to the summer and moving some of these panels even to better locations than they are now. Anyway, let me see, I got a message over there. I didn't see it. Let me grab it real quick. Your best bet is to set that lottery miner up on a solo pool, place it in a well-ventilated area, and forget about it until you retire. Yes, I know, but my wife isn't interested in solo mining. I solo mine exclusively, even on my big one here. I've been doing some Quai. I do a little bit of, I did some Digibyte. Just throwing a few of them in, do them for a little while, pile up a stock of them while they're super cheap, and then go on to the next one. And then I spend a couple of days, and what I'm going to try to do is spend 3 to 5 days a week doing the, oops, that message isn't even on the screen, is it? Spend 3 to 5 days a week doing solo bit mining for either oh my goodness, what am I gonna, Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, one or the other. I love the idea of hitting a Bitcoin, but the difficulty level on that one is so extremely high. The odds are I'll never hit it, and it'll just burn all this power for nothing. So I figure while I'm playing around with it and learning how it all works. I'm just going to mine some of these smaller coins and hope that one of them takes off. I mean, I think I've got, let's see, let's just go out and look at Kwai. So Kwai I have, switch that screen for you. Kwai I have right now, you can see here, 79 confirmed and 192 waiting to be confirmed. I've hit some pretty good blocks in the last few days. I've been hitting 4 to 8 blocks a day, so that helps. Digicoin, I'm going to go back to it here in the next, or Digibyte. I'm going to be switching back to it here in the next few days. And I've got 4,000 coins there. But this is the one where the payoff is you know, they're almost useless at this point. But the nice thing about that is they only got to go up a tiny bit, and you end up with a lot. So that's kind of what I'm playing. It's long shots. It's all burning kilowatt hours for the sake of burning them. My house is zeroed out. I'm just building the solar systems for the fun of it. So why not go for gold and see if I can hit me a Bitcoin, or hit me some Bitcoin cashes. The Bitcoin cashes, instead of, what are the Bitcoin is at, what, 70,000? So that would be like 220,000 payoff. The Bitcoin Cash is probably about a $2,200 payoff. So, nah, but the likelihood of hitting one of those is a lot better. Anyway, so let's move on. Unless we've got some more talk about that, then we can move on to playing a little bit with the, what am I doing? In the wrong screen here. I'm never going to get these screens right tonight. All right. So we go back to, let's go back to our camera views here, and let's get you guys a good view. Let's explain what we're going to be doing tonight. So this is the system, really. I'm going to put this one in that view. Yeah, that way you've got both to see from. So what I'm looking at doing tonight, a couple of different things. I got two systems going on here. Majority of all of this over here is the 24-volt system that's here. It's got 580 amp hours running into it, and all 12-volt batteries in series, or with the exception of one. So I've got over here, I got two eco-worthy 280-hour amp hours that are running in series, creating a 24-volt 280 amps hours. I've got two Chinese 12-volt batteries here that are 100 amp hours each, running in parallel, or running in series, creating another 100 amp hours, so that makes 380. I got two more here, which makes 480, and then I've got one 24-volt Li time 100 amp hour, which makes 580 amp hours. So this is kind of the test playing system right now. I brought these four, this 100 amp hours and this 100 amp hours, to the event this weekend, and ran the solar coffee trailer off of it. It ran all the refrigeration and everything when we weren't there. For about 4 hours Sunday morning, I ran the entire coffee trailer until both the espresso machine and the coffee pot hit at the same time and knocked the inverter off. It just isn't quite enough, but that is going to be a very coming soon project. I'm going to get a second EG4 3000 EH, and I'm going to parallel those together and put 6,000 watts into the off a 48-volt battery. I need about 15 to 20 kilowatt hours to run the coffee trailer 100% off grid. And that means I can take it to an event, I can run it all day, and I can bring it home, or I can plug it into a small wall plug, and even a 120 outlet somewhere, and it can trickle charge all night through a wall outlet, you know, at 10 amps, a normal charge, kind of like an automobile charger. Slow trickle charge as opposed to sucking down a whole bunch of battery all at once. In addition, I got all the solar on the roof over there. So that's really where a lot of the 24-volt stuff comes from. I'm going to move this bit miner out of the way here and put it over on this table. I don't have a USB port to plug it into over there, which is kind of a shame. Well, yeah, I do. I'm going to take it over here into the cabinet for the equipment cabinet and just plug it in here until we're done so I can take it back into my wife. But I don't want her to be disappointed when she sees that it hasn't processed anything. She loves the monitoring screen. I don't know if I showed you guys the monitoring screen. For $25, this thing was kind of really a good find. If you look at the, I think I switched it here. So it's got this little monitoring screen here. As you can see, it's pretty simplistic. Last updated 8.13 because I just unplugged it a second ago, so it'll probably click back on here in a minute as it boots up. How many active workers are there? And if you had multiple of them configured and stuff, I guess you could see all of them. I've only got one. I just bought the one for testing and playing, so it is what it is. But it was extremely easy to configure. I mean, literally, you come in through a hotspot that it creates. You logged into it, and then you basically go through a web page, which is like this one right here, and you just and it pops up immediately a message that says, what is your Wi-Fi connection? You put in your Wi-Fi connection, it reboots, it comes to this, and then from here you just hit edit, and you just go in and say, okay, what is your Wi-Fi connection? And I don't know what that is. Somebody else's Wi-Fi, that's very strange. Huh. Oh. Says the device isn't there. Okay, the device isn't actually booted up. That's why it's going off in memory. Anyway, wish it would hurry up and finish booting up. Let me go check to see how far along it is. Anyway, it is pretty easy device there to configure. And it lost its configuration. That's kind of disappointing. I hope that doesn't mean that every time I unplug it that it loses its configuration. That would be very irritating because its default configuration was to connect to somebody else's mining pool. And if that's the case, then I'm going to have to go in and re-image it and set it up correctly, because that is not going to work for me. Or maybe I just need to put a memory card in it. Maybe it's just saving it in volatile memory, and maybe that's it. Either way, I'll play with it. When it's free power, you can't. Let me see what he's sent over there. Let's go. Yeah, so when it's free power, you can't lose. I'm a home miner with a lot of hardware turned off because it burns more than it earns. My buddies tell me solar isn't practical, but maybe with net metering. No, actually, you know, if I was to do it again, I would skip the net metering. Off-grid is definitely the way to go. And off-grid doesn't mean that you're technically off-grid. Like here in the solar shed, I am off-grid. But what that means is that I am either all solar or all grid. And that means that if let's say I go into charging mode, then all of my devices run off of the grid and it charges the battery off the grid. But when it's off grid, it just means that the grid's there as a backup to fall back on when something goes wrong. Like this morning when I showed you I was using, you know, 1/4 of a kilowatt hour. What happened is the batteries got too low because I turned it on too early. When they got too low, it triggered turning the grid on, and then it ran on just minimal grid power until the solar took over, and then it switched back to off-grid and ran that way. I'll probably never do another grid-tied system again, simply because the complications of getting all the approvals and everything, and there's no benefit to it. You could do a hybrid system where you kind of have the flexibility of an off-grid and on-grid, but I would suggest it at the bare minimum. Don't worry about that piece of it, because even if you do the net metering and you're giving that power back to them, in most locations, I'm very lucky here in Florida, I get 1 for 1. But in most locations, let's say that you're paying, you know, 15 cents a kilowatt hour or 10 cents a kilowatt hour. If you're giving it to them, they're only crediting you half of that. they may credit you 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So even when you generate extra, you give it to the grid instead of pouring in batteries. Batteries have gotten too cheap for this. You can get a 15 kilowatt battery, 30 kilowatt hour battery now. One of those, 30 kilowatt hour DIY batteries that they just sell you, that send into sales. You just bolt it together. It's all really put together, but they ship it in multiple boxes. You can put one of them 30 kilowatt batteries together for $2,500 now. So with 30 kilowatts, which is twice what I'm running here, you can easily store enough to maintain a nice solar system and not have to worry about your house. Now for a home, I might end up doing a couple of them. I wish I could go back and redo the whole thing, because I'm telling you, it would be a whole lot cheaper now. Things have changed in the last 4 or 5 years from what it was back then. But yeah, you can do it much better now. But free power is the key. I'm doing it totally free, and with the exception of a half a kilowatt here or a kilowatt there when I make a mistake, and it uses it as an emergency backup. But that's kind of the game I'm playing at this point. But it doesn't really cost me anything. For 10 mistakes a month at a half a kilowatt costs me 5 kilowatt hours. No big deal. All right, so let's get on to the build, or I'll end up talking all night and we won't get anything built, which I may end up talking all night. We might not get anything built anyway, but at least this way it'll be while I'm working on something, as opposed to, all right. So let's look at, I got to switch the screen here. Let's see which one of these looks better. I think this one for now looks better. 16 cents, I can't see that. Let me just bring that up real quick. I'm in Washington at 16 cents a kilowatt hour. I checked the utility company. They claim one-to-one metering at least up to 20 kilowatt system. I could easily use all 50 kilowatt. I could usually use all of a 50 watt system, so mini batteries blows the whole budget. Yeah, that's probably true. But it might be still better off having a small number to buffer it a little bit. What I've found is that even when I first started doing it, I was only buffering it with like a 4 or 5K battery. And it was just enough to where when the clouds went down, it wouldn't switch and pull grid power and then switch back and all that. It just basically keep going, and it was enough to buffer it. Now I've since gone to, piling it up, because I mounted a whole bunch of new panels along the back fence and stuff. And 70 or 80 kilowatt hours for it is completely different than what you're talking. A 50K system, you're talking about a lot of freaking storage. But free power. So you might want to look at doing just enough to buffer it, not to store it, but to keep it from clicking, going on and off and on and off and on and off. It still saves you a lot, just that little bit there. And you might also end up with issues around, do you have any of the peak hours? See, we got another one there. If you have anything around peak hours, then you're going to want to think about that too, because the peak shaving is really, really important for just a few batteries, not full. Off-grid, I have, Donald says, off-grid, I have an EG4 6000 XP 14 kilowatt battery, 5 kilowatt hour battery, 5 kilowatt of solar, feed critical loads only with auto generator start, did not want to have anything to do with the grid tie. Yeah. And that's, Donald, that is exactly what I would probably do if I was to redo my system right now today, except I would probably go with a bit bigger battery, especially the way prices are now. I mean, those 628 amp hour DIY batteries are just crazy priced at this point. If you can get a good, reliable wholesaler, which, you get one of those, you can get a couple of them for 5 or 10 grand and just have, 120 kilowatt hours of battery power for $10,000. It's just crazy. 5K of solar. I've got a little bit more than that here, but I don't have it all mounted. Now, my house has 13K, but my shed, let me think what I got. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 maybe. But they're not all, you know, I've got some flat, I got some hidden behind, you know, trucks, I got some in good locations and some bad. So as I start to mount them, that will matter. But for right now, I don't have all that going on, but it's not anywhere near like what you probably have is 5K of solar in a good mounted on the roof or on a rack mount somewhere, where I don't. I have the ones along the back fence are my best ones right now, and those are 2 strings of 8 250 watt panels. So those are 2,000 watts a piece, and they do pretty good though. They produce quite well. If we go over to the stats on those, let's see what we got here. I can go to all PV power. Let me see if I can change that to this screen here. And so you can see that's these along that back fence. And so, you know, they only peak up around 2,500 here in February, but it's matching about what my house was doing at this time last year also. So those may end up peaking out around 3,500 for used $10 panels. I really can't complain. You know, some of those, half of those panels I got for $15 and the other half I got for free. So let's see what we have here from Chuck. I priced a build with roughly those specs and got my feet wet. I've been watching Santan to get the pallet of panels, but I rent. So yard real estate is currently in short supply. Yeah. Those pallets of panels are the way to go. They've got those cells on those new ones these days. They're just so inexpensive. It kills me what they're practically giving those things away almost. I saw some the other day for 23 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, I just couldn't even believe it. It was a pallet for 23 cents. Brand new panels, 410 watt for 23 cents a kilowatt. It was just crazy. Cheapest dollar per watt. Those new ones that just came out at Signature Solar were the ones I was just talking about. Those things were super cheap. I couldn't even believe it. I don't even need the panels, and I thought about buying them. That's how bad they were. Vertical along my north facing. Yeah, I've got them like partially vertical along my fence. I'll show you guys a picture of it at some point, get you a couple of videos on it, walk you through all the different panels I got set up. I got some facing, let's see, man, which direction am I facing here? So if that's south, that's north, west. I've got some facing west, but then they got a truck in the way. So when it hits that truck, they kind of blows things up, but what can you do? All right. I don't even remember what I was going to be doing. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Is that the right view? That's the right view. As you can see, so if you look over here, and I'm going to have to turn this camera just a little bit so you can see it. I took a bunch of the old stuff out of the solar shed or out of the trailer today because I've been using that big power pack that was in that chest. I just decided to strip all this stuff out and use some of the stuff here for wiring it. Now I went ahead and just kind of rigged all the batteries back in over here, and I got a new 12 volt inverter. Now, if you look at that inverter, this new 12 volt inverter is 3,000 watts. And no, I don't trust these terminals at all for 3,000 watts. I still haven't quite figured out. I think what I'm going to do is just fuse it down and just make sure I don't go over a certain wattage, because that is not going to withstand. These are the battery cables that they sent with it. And you can take a look at that lug on there. I don't know if this one focuses any better than that one does. Oh, hell yeah, that focuses a lot better. Let's try switching this real quick to this view. So you can see there, that is not super impressive. It's kind of pressed in there, and I'm not real sure how I want to do it. Now, by mistake, they sent me 2 sets. So I'm considering taking and just running both of them. But the real question here is, I need to do testing on a new battery. So I don't know if you guys can hear it. Let me see. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Let me see if I can get this camera to point down there. I got this new battery sitting down here charging. This is a new steel case, metal case, 12 volt. Yeah, let me pull that charger off. I'm gonna pull this charger off of here just for a few minutes so I can show you guys. Wow, it got awful quiet in here. I didn't realize that thing was making so much noise. I'm gonna just slide that off to the side here. So this steel case, 200 amp hour, 280 amp hour Eco the Worthy steel case battery. This thing should be able to. Now, the cool part about this thing is it comes with these metal straps. So what I really want to do is I want to use these, and I'm thinking these in like an RV situation where you can bolt these down with these clamps. Can you guys see? Oh yeah, you can see. So these little clamps here can mount directly here and then bolt down to wherever you want to secure these. So for boats or RVs or stuff, these metal case ones are just fantastic, you know, much more secure and safer than these plastic cases and stuff like that, where I worry about them getting damaged and stuff. But a couple of these would be really nice. I'm thinking about using, and I also want to, I'm also, the coffee trailer is the big one here too. I want to make the coffee trailer fully off grid, but in order to do that, I need to get 15 to 20 kilowatts hours in there. And I don't want to dedicate 15 to 20 kilowatt hours of battery power to a coffee trailer that's only used a couple of days a month. Unless, of course, you know, the wife decides she wants to do it a lot more than that. And maybe she would if she didn't have to worry about generators and stuff. But I'm thinking at least these are portable enough where I could bring them out and bolt them down onto the platform on the front of the trailer. I could just weld a nice little platform to stick them into, and then just connect all the cables across into 48 volts, and then run a couple of 3,000 watt EG4 3,000 watt inverters in parallel. So I get about 6,000 watts, which would be about what the generator would use, what I use off the generator. But it would be shared instead of an L1, L2, where I have 2 different lines. So it should do it. But these I could carry out and put them in there. And then when I don't want them in there, I could put them back here in the solar shed and use them, you know, dual purpose, have them for storage for bit mining stuff the rest of the time. So that's kind of the idea there. I don't know. Do we have any vertical users tonight? I know I turned on vertical thing, and I don't know if there's any way for me to check it or test it or take a look at it or anything. I just completely forgot about those guys, and I just wanted to make sure that they can see everything okay, or if they can't, what I need to do to accommodate that. I haven't seen, don't know of any. And there are no stats for it. They can only see part of what it is. Okay, so I just need to make sure I understand what they can see and what they can't see. All right, I can do that. I can just keep the important stuff in the middle of the screen. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm looking at here. And I'm thinking I want to hook something up for this tonight so that I can actually do this. Now, I have a shunt that I can use for measuring it that I had in the food trailer. So I may use this shunt just to measure the draw off of it. And maybe we can get it run from here down to that battery just set the battery here and run it up through a shunt and just get that mounted. So I think that's what I probably will do first, is get that running so I can get that test started. Did that work? That camera is pointing there. I probably need to move this picture-in-picture to the other side so that you guys can see what I'm working on here. Or switch the view completely. Let's see which view looks better. Yeah, that's not going to look better. Let's go back to this view, and let's just move that picture-in-picture across the screen so that you guys can see everything the way you need to. So if I just take this and put it over here, I'm trying to get it to where, I think that'll work. Hopefully that works. If not, let me know, guys, and I'll move it around again. But I'm thinking this gives you the double view of being able to see right there on the screen, and I'll just move that over just a little bit more towards the center so that you can see it there. I'll make it a little bigger too. It's probably a good idea. And then you got a good close-up view here from that one. I might even be able to make that one a little bit bigger too. And then we can just yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is what I'm thinking. We figure out a way to safely first we got to get rid of all this garbage here. I've got so much garbage here, I don't even know what to do. I did buy a new breaker for this system over here, the 24-volt system, because I don't like the way this entire piece here is working. So I got us a new breaker. Now I bought one of these new fuse breakers based on the testing that I've seen. These are more reliable than the A&L fuses. As you can see, that is a big Mamba Bamba. See if I can put that there. Oh yeah, that's a big Mamba Bamba. So that, whoa, that is big. That's 200 amps. So that ought to be enough to safely limit what comes out of this. And I should be able to get enough wires on here, and then I will actually test that with a thermal camera to make sure it's okay. But I'm wondering if I can, that's a really big breaker. I'm wondering if I can double up on these. I just can't believe that's the one they gave me. That's just crazy. There's no way. I mean, this is 4-aught. I don't know if that insulation is marine grade, but it's probably at least 100 degrees, so it probably could get close to 100 amps. I don't think it could support 200. That's just nuts. But then again, a lot of the times they sell these stupid inverters of 2,000, 3,000 watts with a damn cigarette lighter plug-in. Who has a car where you can plug in a cigarette lighter and pull 100 amps out of it? Nobody. It's just silly. Okay, so let me see what I've got to do here to get some tools out of the way, and let's think about what we want to do here for this. I'm not going to be able to. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. If I limit this to 100 amps for now, I can test that battery, and then we can switch all of this over later, and then we can do some 24-volt stuff tonight too. Okay, let's do that. So if I just hook up, let's just figure out how we're going to do this. I am going to hook up a 100 amp. Let's just do it that way. These wires will all support 100 amps. So let me just see. Do all this out of your sight. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to disconnect some of this stuff from this jumble of wires I got out of the So I'm thinking I just use one of these. I mean, if I'm doing this test, I'm going to be monitoring it anyway. So it's not like it's going to be, so now I got to figure out how I got that long enough to support 100 amps that, oh, right there. Oh, okay, I'm going to make a math. Hold your ears. I just took all these and unscrewed them and took them out of that food trailer today. So we've got kind of a jumble of wires here. So, oh, you know what I can use though? Instead of this, I can make this, I can just use this big aught cable here. And I could probably just run that straight to the inverter and then run this to the load. And let's try it. Let's just try it. Let's pop all this stuff off and start hooking some things up and see if we can get it to come up the way we want it to. So first we need to get some, we need to get something to undo these nuts on this thing here. Let me find a socket here the right size real quick. And you guys feel free to keep chatting out there. If you need anything, just yell. I'm just gonna see if I can put some of this together here and try to loosen these wires up because I want to replace them with different wires. This system was never, this one that I had this hooked up to was never intended to do anything but run a refrigerator or so, so it didn't have to have that many amps. So I want to make sure that I get something I can run. I probably need to run 0.2C. So 0.2C had a 180 amp battery, 280 amp battery is going to be 56 amps. So I need to be able to run 56 amps safely. That means I need at least 6-aught wire or smaller or larger, I mean. But I think that shouldn't be a problem. We got plenty of that. We got 4-aught with the one that came with it, so that ought to support. Okay, so I take that and with one of the wires that they sent me, which is this one here, and we're just going to hook up so if this was connected here, oh my God, can't hold on to anything tonight. Can you guys see anything I'm doing? Oh yeah, okay. Kind of anyway. I don't know if that chat just disappeared or if everyone stopped talking. I'm just going to go double check the other chat real quick. Sometimes I get one chat that just kind of stops working. And later on, I find out that I was ignoring everybody. No, it's just nobody's chatting. Okay, good. Well, not good, but good. All right, so this we could do that way. Just take this one. And I'm just kind of ad-libbing here because this test, I would like to convert this entire system here down to a 12-volt system for all the testing that I do on it. But right now, there's 15 kilowatts tied up in this for the that I used and I transfer over to the solar system for the big solar system for the bit miner. And I don't want to lose all the bit mining. It's an extra 15 kilowatts every couple days when that battery gets full. So that's kind of nice. I don't want to get rid of that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just put this like this, and then we will run this down to the battery. That'll give us a 100 amp off on breaker. And Those have proven to be somewhat reliable. I wouldn't say I would sleep with it under my bed, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so then we need to get, I'm going to take this breaker, move it out of the way here, and I'm going to bring over just my little box of screws and stuff. We'll just set this over here. I just need a couple of little small head screws so we can just screw this. Let's see if we got our screwdriver here. So we will take this and I'm thinking just put it in right about here. I'm not going to be super picky about it. Oh, that's not long. That's not big enough. That ain't going to work. It screwed in. It just didn't go deep enough to hold it. All right, so I'll replace that with two of these. They're a little bit longer. It's the one I thought I grabbed in the first place. All right. We'll take that. Thinking about that wire right now. I don't like the way that looks, but it's extremely temporary for a test here. And then we'll come back and... All right. That gets us that wire. We can kind of turn that a little bit. Now let's talk about the negative. The negative wire. All right. Those are not tight, they're just on. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to use for a negative wire. I got to run to this battery, and I'm thinking that I should use these big battery terminals, these nice battery cables, because they're going to be safe as I can get. These are the 1/0 wires I used in the RV, and these I know support plenty of amperage, so it'll be good for this test, except they won't fit on there, short of going directly. So the negative would be fine, but the positive will not. So we're going to have to find a oh, wait a minute, there's an idea. Let's just set that battery up here and see if that will reach, because if it does, like I said, they gave me two. If they gave me two, I can... Oh, wow, that's one heavy puppy. I'm going to set the battery right up here. Good and heavy. And then we can just run the second one like from here to here. Maybe even that first one will fit from there to there. Let's see. Is that the right wire? Oh no, that's not even the right one. Huh. What size wire is that? Oh, that's a much nicer wire. Much nicer lugs too. Let's see if we can get that to actually work. That will be a much better solution. This is one ugly rat's nest. I probably should, I think once we determine that this is going to work here, and this inverter comes on and we do that, I'm going to just disconnect these cables for a few minutes, and then we can work on this system, and then I'll put this back when we're done, because this is an ugly rat's nest. And I don't want to work around it all damn night. At the same time, I like these cables being short. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that sucks. Okay. That sucked. All right, so with that said, is this longer or shorter? Oh, it's longer. Huh. That one works. Yeah. Okay. We'll take it. We'll take it. Oh, that's an interesting problem. So what did they expect you to hook these to? An off-on switch. Huh. This is not my idea of the way to do this. Okay. So I need, and I have, a secondary, much stronger, larger ringed. These are larger ring, small on this end, larger on this end, small on this end, larger on this end, which will fit from here to there and from here to there if I mount a second one of these. This is not really the best way to do all of this, but it should give, oh, you know what? It won't matter. We need to put the shunt in. Okay. Yeah. We forgot about that, didn't we? So with the shunt, we are going to all right, so I forgot we have to have the shunt in there or we can't really test anything, which works out just fine. So let's think about this a bit more before we do this. I want to, the shunt was run to, oh, the shunt was run off of a bus bar. That's why I don't have a screw for it, because it was ran off of a bus bar. Okay, let me grab this other, I'm gonna grab this other bus bar down here. Give me just a second here. I should have been a little bit more careful taking this system apart, but to be honest with you, I really just wanted it out of the way, and the coffee trailer was being cleaned, commissary, and I didn't want to take any more time to do it. All right. Ha! That's what it was. Okay. So, we take this, that'll work just fine. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to mount this bus bar for the negative side things to come out of here onto the bus bar, through the shunt, which I just set down and lost. Oh, there it is. Through the shunt, from the shunt to the negative post on the battery. This will allow us to measure the battery usage. Then we're going to have the positive come out into the breaker, from the breaker to the battery. This will give us a direct connection only to the inverter, so we can do capacity test and it'll allow us to charge as long as we charge from the post side of the negative on this side of the shunt. So we can just put the charger directly onto here, and allows us to do that way also. So I should be able to measure both and do both the capacity test there. It's a 200 amp. And the amazing part is this had a 200, I think it's a 200 amp JK BMS. And you know, I saw it on my phone. I couldn't even believe it was a JK BMS. I'm going to have to look at that. That would be really spectacular if this thing's got a JK BMS in it. I may have to open it up and just make sure that that's really what I saw, because that is interesting. If they're making solid metal batteries for an RV with a JK BMS, that kind of battery really is interesting. As long as the cells are good and have a capacity test to pass and all of that, this will be very interesting. So I need to move that camera so you guys can see. So this is what I think we're going to do here. We're going to just slide this in here, run this down there, measure it from there. So let's just start by putting these up, this bus bar up. Grab a couple screws here, and we will mount this vertically right here so that we can get to everything safely and conveniently. And then I'm going to slide this down just a little bit. That. And this needs to come out of my way. All of this is going to change here in a little bit. I want to switch this over to using that bus bar, which I can't do now. Son of a biscuit eater. What have I done? Let me think about this one for a minute. I got a ding dang of a problem. I'm a bus bar short. Oh, no, I'm not. I just used the wrong one in the wrong spot. Yeah, that's all I did. Okay, let's fix this. Use the wrong bus bar for the wrong thing, which is going to make me come up short here in a few minutes when I need this bus bar. Thought it was kind of odd that I had an extra bus bar just sitting around I didn't need. I could never have enough bus bars. I could use 1,000 of them. Still need more. All right. Let's do this again. This time, this bus bar. I wonder if those screw holes are in the same spot. No, not quite. It's good. And now the thing is, this is a negative bus bar, not a positive bus bar, and from a different battery system. So you got to be careful not to get these type of things confused, or it'll cost you a whole lot of sanity. And then we want to move that a little bit around. I'm just going to take this right here. Pop this negative post off. Just from one of these batteries. Should have no effect on it. Run that cable back down a little bit. There we go. Let's tighten that one back up since that is actually in use. I'll have to take a torque wrench a little later, but that ought to be good for the non-use that it has tonight. All right, then we will take the shunt and we will attach it to the bottom of this bus bar. Beautiful. And we need to get the right size socket or wrench to tighten that up. It looks like a 10. Not positive, but I am now. All right, good. Then the top, I think that makes these all 10s also. When in Rome, nothing's connected. Might as well tighten everything. Well, I don't have any power here to screw with me. Okay, good and tight. Set that little jumper down there for later. All right, now we need the positive side of this. Let's see if I can find that factory cable that came with it for the other side. I don't see it. The hell did I do with it? Fortunately, they sent me two, so I'm going to take the other one out of the... Cute, has a little wrench in it. Kind of weird, they sent me two of these kits. One of them has the remote control in it, and the other one has the fuses and the grounding. Makes me wonder if it was a mistake that they sent two. I mean, I guess theoretically you could put... That's not the right one. Theoretically, you could put two of these on each one. And that would probably get a whole lot closer to supporting the voltage or the amperage that it's going to be, would be doing in a full speed system. I don't see, where in the world did that cable go off to? I just want to look around a little bit and see if I can find that other black cable like this. I found the other red one, and that's an interesting idea, would be to run both of these like this down to it and run two from this one to the bus bar also. That would be kind of good. Oh, here it is. Shit. I'm losing my mind tonight, guys. I'm telling you. Hope it's not an age thing. Hope it's just a vitamin deficiency or something, because man, I don't want to get old ever. All right, let's do this lock washer and the nut. So with that said, that would mean that if I take off two of these nuts, first one, of course, is extra long because it has the cap that attaches to it. Second one looks kind of funny. I don't know what the hell's going on with it. It's a little dirty. I think I'm going to find a paper towel and wipe it off. Got like a little soot or something on it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it Here we go. Let's take one of these paper towels here. And we will wipe it off. There we go. That's better. I don't know if something was on it or what. Maybe it got wet. It was in the coffee trailer, so maybe it just got wet. It didn't look like it was bad. It just looked like it was just dirty somehow. Okay. Well, that's an interesting concept. I wonder if that's what they meant to, why they wanted to, why they put two cables in here. But the strange part is that I can't tighten these both down and put their caps, these caps back on, because the wires have to stick straight out for these to work. So even if I did put both of them on like this here, they can't tighten down properly. I have to fan them out like this to get them to tighten down correctly. So even if that's what they were thinking, um, which I mean that I don't think it'll support 3,000 watts yet, but 3,000 watts. Let's do the math. 3,000 watts on that is what, 200 and something, 200 and whoa, that's a lot. Let's just grab a calculator here. 3,000 watts divided by 13.2 is 227. So 227 amps. Yeah, no, that's not going to float 227 amps. But these 4-aught wires, they're not the ones like the EG4 comes with where they're 200 degrees Celsius. These are unlabeled, but they look like they're maybe 105 degree, which would put them at, 4-aught marine grade. Let's just check it real quick. So 4 gauge, 105 degrees Celsius amp rating is 125. Oh, son of a gun. Maybe maybe two together would support. I think I would be standing here with a thermal camera for the rest of my life if I was to trust that to do anything other than run a test. I just don't think I could do it. Yeah, I don't think so. But hey, it's better to have it, two of them, and have some chance of it working and being safe than having one and knowing it's half. Now I still got the breaker here for half, so that's okay. But the nice thing is this lets me know that if I convert this system here, well, that's my PV. If I convert that system there, I can use that new breaker. And that new breaker is 200 amps, and so it will get really darn close to that 3,000 watts. Okay, we're going to take this back off, and we're going to put that second one on here. Be interesting to do a surge test on this that high and see if we can actually get that out of it. I don't think I would run it for any length of time without having an active thermal camera pointed at it, but who knows? Who knows? All right. And then we put this one down here too. Okay, so let's just put this back on real quick so that we don't have to worry about it falling on the floor on us. All right, here we go. Then we just got to change this, move this just a little bit in order to get two of them to fit on there. Oh, that down a little bit. Let's see if I can just move this around to get two of them to fit. If I bring this one up and down, push that one over a little bit, I think I can get them both in there. I mean, this breaker can't support it. Yeah, this one needs to go behind there also, doesn't it? Relieve some of that tension there. Oh, that worked actually. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm not convinced it can support 3,000 watts, but it'll be a fun test either way. Let's make sure I got my fire extinguisher nearby. And for those of you that are watching, please don't try this at home. I'm not an electrician. I'm just a daredevil playing with electricity. All right. That one up, did I? Let's double check this side of the circuits. Tight, 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 tight. Okay, so up to the breakers and the all right, so now huh, this might actually work. This is interesting. All right, let's put the negative cable on. I don't like the tension that thing is under. It's actually not as bad as it looked. Okay. Is that a 13? It's just long enough to make it risky as all get out twisted. Touch all kinds of wires all over the place and make a real nice, pretty spark shower. Let's try to avoid that, shall we? All right, now the bottom half of this. Oh, that's what I was going to use the second wire up there for. Let's just try. We got, what do we got here? That will support it. Not for a long period of time, but it will support it. All right. So let's do that there. Making sure I wasn't gonna get a spark. Wasn't sure, I got it turned off, but you know how that goes sometimes. Just because it's turned off doesn't mean it's turned off. Although this one is a JK BMS, that would imply that it is a JK BMS because it does have the JK BMS little push button switch here. All right, so let's get rid of our shock hazard here. And do this one cautiously as we don't know. Supposedly the battery's off, but I don't know about you, but wrenches and 12-volt batteries get really freaking hot really fast. All right, let's do some voltage checks before we do anything else here. We got plugs on the front, so we don't have to hook up the line feed in the back. Would be nice to hook something up to the line feed if I had one of those, an extra one of those power boxes. Although if I move the, it's 3,000 out to the trailer, then I might end up doing that. Okay, so let's just switch this to DC. I don't know if you guys can see that. No, not a chance. Let's try it this way then. Maybe. Let's try it. That way. You see that? Of course not. The damn screen's in the way. Wow. That is just no good option here. I'm going to go back to this one. At least that one you can see. We're going to take 12 volt reading here. It's 26.5, or the 24 volt reading is 26.5. Hopefully you can see that. And then we're going to try the same over here. It should be 0. Why is it registering 8 volts? There we go. 13.3 volts when it's on. All right. Let's go for broke. Let's do another check right here. 13.34, 13.34, 13.34, 13.34. So that means that it's the same all the way through there. Now let's do it the other way around. Let's do 13.34 with positive, 13.34 there, 13.34 there, and 13.34 there. That's good. That means that there's no difference in voltage anywhere on any of the bus bars or any of the connections. And most likely that means that I didn't miss any of the connections, that they're all still tight. And on. Hey, can you hear me? How long was I gone? Looks like one of my microphones just shut down on me. All right. I'm just I'm just over here switching microphones around. So give me just a second and we will I'll have my good audio back on. Sorry about that, guys. Hope you can see if you can see if I can switch this. Let me figure out how to get this microphone fixed. This is the only screen that this microphone works on, so let me turn on a new microphone here and pair it with the computer. Hopefully that will solve our problem, guys. Let me just do that real quick. I saw that battery was a little bit low when I started, but I never expected it to be so low that it wouldn't last the show. Never had these microphones go out like that. Alright, let's do... Give me just a second to figure out how to get this paired up. I don't know how much of the oscilloscope did you guys catch. Did you catch any of it? Do I need to go back through it again? Because I was explaining what the oscilloscope did, how AC power, how it was measured, and why it's important to gauge what I was doing. Did you catch any of that, or did it all get missed? Hopefully. If it's all been missed, that's fine. I'll just go over it again. It's not that big of a deal. If I can find the stupid settings. It always cracks me up on this Mac that it's like my iPhone. That's what I always end up figuring out when I'm said and done. That stupid thing is right in my iPhone. So let's see. Connect it. Let's see if which that works. Alright, let me try this one too. I don't think that did it yet. Huh. Alright, so that says alright, now let me see if I can get it to connect. Hopefully that did it. Let me just go check my microphone settings real quick. And I gotta go switch down here to the other mic. Give me just a second, I'll have it fixed, I think. All right. Yeah, I see part of it's working now, but it's the microphone on my laptop. It's not the microphone in my, it's not my wireless mic, so as soon as I walk away from here, it's not going to work real well. So I'm trying to figure out how to get it to pair this correctly real quick. Alright, now let's see if I turn this on. Okay. There we go. Now we should have... Yeah, I just gotta set the right mic. Give me one more second. I'll have it finished. All right. Hello? Hello? Test. Damn it. Why are you doing this to me? Okay. I think that's got it right there. Can you guys hear me okay now? Gonna put that mic on me. That should be working good audio again. A little bit of a Bluetooth instead of the actual device connection, but I think it's gonna be fine now. All right, so let me just make sure that works across all the different screens here. This one here too, it does. This one also, this one also. There we go. And that one. Okay, so let me just go back to this. I'm going to go back to this screen over here. I can get the right button. There we go. And we're going to, I'm going to walk you through the, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I will walk you through. It shows that this mic has 100%. So I should be fine this time. And I'll pay attention over there in case something goes down. All right, so the oscilloscope, what this basically does is this takes a look at the pure sine wave of an inverter. Now, a sine wave in an inverter is going from AC power stands for alternating current. And what alternating current means is that the current isn't at a fixed rate like it would be on a DC circuit. DC means direct current, meaning the current is just a constant flow down the stream. Imagine this as a car going down the highway. The car is traveling 120 miles an hour down the road at one speed. That is a direct path to the location. And then the other side of the road, which is the negative side of the road, is 120 miles an hour coming back in the opposite direction. So positive flows out, negative flows back, and that is direct current. That is what you have when you have DC current. That is why arcs are so hard to extinguish, because once a DC current grabs hold, it is basically, I don't want to call it momentum, but it's not necessarily technically momentum, but it's like momentum. And that's why DC breakers, like in your house, you get a normal 120 volt DC breaker in your house, and I've just stepped over here to grab one real quick. You can take something like this and easily breaker 120 or 240 volts. No problem. This will easily, full load, flip them off, flip them on, no big deal. But you want to do the same thing with DC power, and you got to have something like this. And then you're still told, try not to do it with full power. And the reason being is because AC current is what they call alternating current. And that means at the top of this peak here, that's the 120 volts. At the bottom, it's a negative 120 volts. And the power goes both ways on both sides of the highway. And when you're talking 60 hertz, and that's here in the US, and this is what I was talking about when I first noticed that this came set up at 60 hertz, which is US frequency. And what that means is that this changes direction 60 times a second, as opposed to the international world where it changes 50 times a second. Now, what you want on this sine wave is you want this to be nice and smooth going up and down. Imagine the highway where the electricity is going this way at 120 and then it reverses and comes back negative 120 this way. And so it's a positive 120, negative 120 at 60 times a second. And this variation of power going up and down is what powers your devices and causes them to run. But it also makes it where it's easy to disconnect, because at this moment right here in the middle, there's zero voltage in this. There's nothing there, except in a 220 outlet where you have the power exactly the opposite at every time. And in three-phase, you have three of those isolating variations at different times. So this makes it really easy to shut the breakers off, because there are times where there's nothing there holding the two together. But on a DC circuit, and that's why it's so dangerous. And if those of you watch the old movie History of the World Part 2 or something like that, and they're arguing about DC current being dangerous and all that stuff. And that's because DC current can and will grab you and not let go. AC current usually blows you away because of this isolating current. So in this oscilloscope allows me to look at what that sine wave looks at. Now, you can ignore the blue at the bottom because that's for the other side of a 220, and I've only got it hooked up to 110. So the yellow line is the sine wave that comes out of this. And as you can see from this, that yellow wave looks quite nice. But I also noticed when I hooked up the charger, so I'm going to plug the charger back in. Oh, that's not good. Give me just a second. I got to hook this back up, and I really don't like playing with these live wires like this. Okay. So if I hook this charger back up, we will see when it comes on what it does to the sine wave. Because quite frequently what happens is the devices that are hooked to it cause noise on the line. And as you can see here, this one has an ugly little curve towards the top where it's not quite smooth anymore. Now, a really good inverter like the 6000 XP would basically smooth that out and you wouldn't see that. Now, the nice thing is there is only a little bit of power drop here. It did drop to 119 volts. This was what I was about to test with the heat gun when I realized my audio was off. But you can see how ugly it is. Now, if I turn this off and I turn the heat gun on, you'll notice that the sine wave doesn't change. It actually stays pretty nice, even though it has 1450 watts being pulled. Now, there is a little bit of voltage drop, 117 volts, but for 1500 watts, that's not particularly bad. It's not great, but I've seen them drop as much as down to 110 volts, and we don't want to see that. So, but if you look at the sine wave, it remained pretty. It remained nice and smooth. Same as when I turn it off, you don't see almost any change whatsoever. And that's what you would like to see on the oscilloscope, because that is what tells you how good it is for devices like your computers and your motors. You don't want your motors to have those sudden, I'm sorry about that fan, it's really noisy. You don't want your motor to have those sudden starts and finishes. You want it to be nice and smooth. And if you've ever had that refrigerator that you plugged in, and when you plug it in, it just sounds like all holy hell is rolling, a lot of the times that's because it had been plugged into a really bad source of power and it done some damage to it and everything. Now, I'm noticing some redlining on my microphone. Am I too loud? Does it sound muffled, or does it sound okay? If it needs to be turned down a little bit, I can do that. I just need to make sure if it does or not. I'll trust one of you will let me know if you see that it does need to be turned down or whatnot. So anyway, So now that we know that the voltage drop is there, that the sine wave isn't going to damage anything, that it can support at least 1500 watts relatively easily. Um, I haven't tested anything over here with the actual pull on this. And as you know, I mentioned at the very beginning of this, I'm very uncomfortable with the wires and the connectors that they put on this. It would be interesting actually for me to put a good load on this of about 2,000 watts and then find out if these wires, doubling up on these wires the way I did, if it solves some of my concerns. I'm still not sure that even the buses that run into this inverter are large enough to support 3,000 watts on any continuous tile base. Um, but for me, I need to run 56 amps through this thing, and 56 amps would make basically at 12 or 13.2 volts. Let's see what kind of voltage I really need to get out of, or how many watts I need to get out of this. So 56 times 13.2, I need to run about 730 watts. So I think 730 watts would be the low speed on this dryer. 760. So that is the perfect speed for running the batteries, this battery at 0.2C, because a standard factory test should be to completely charge it up and then discharge it at exactly 0.2C. Now, what I would also like to see is if I can run the charge verter on the other, off the other um, side of the thing at that rate. I can adjust it to where it does it, and I can use it for a pull. And that way I can just transfer the power from this one to that one, and I don't have to worry about anything. So that means that the oscilloscope has proven that this inverter has pretty clean power. It doesn't like the charger. My guess is the charger is just dirty and causes distortion and power issues within it on some other inverters. And I would have to test other inverters to see that. I've never actually tried it before with other inverters, um, intentionally looking for that device to see if it's dirty. But this is kind of what you're looking at when you're looking at an inverter is what is it safely going to be able to power? What you don't want to do is just buy some cheap modified sine wave inverter where unless that's what you need it for. Now, if you're just going to be running that inverter over to, let's say, a charge inverter that is designed to take that dirty power, then so be it, no problem. But in this case, I want it to run. Uh, I want to make sure that it can run refrigerators and refrigeration and that kind of stuff because in a true hurricane type scenario, this system would power emergency devices for me and it would help me get different things there. So, okay, thank you, Chuck. I didn't know for sure. It shows it getting close to redlining here and there, but I can't tell sometimes if it's just saying that or not. Anyway, so now we have the inverter done. Now, this actually went really well. I'm still a little uncomfortable with the, well, shall we say, the nature of the rig to get this to work. Um, but I'm going to charge and discharge this battery about 5 times, and I just want a nice, safe way to do it. What I will do on the first time is make sure that I thermal camera all of the wires to make sure that they can safely be pulled. I'm not sure about these down here. That one should be okay, but this one here makes me a little bit nervous. That doesn't look like it's could support that type of power, even though it's the right grade size. I don't think it's going to be able to, well, 56 amps it should be able to support. It should be able to support up at 100 amps, so we should be okay there. And we got a 100 amp breaker on it, so even if I pull over that, it should pop. Now, let's see. 1,500 watts should have been close to 1,500 divided by 13.2 was 113 amps. So it was pulling 113 amps from that battery, and that would be close to almost point 0.4, 0.45 C. That'd be a good test also. Although I am interested to know if this has got a JK BMS in it, because when I pulled up my phone, I noticed that there was a JK BMS within reach. Now, the guy who lives behind me has a bunch of motorcycles and stuff parked right behind me, and in those is the what am I saying? In with that is a snowmobile and stuff, and it all of that has the batteries in it also, and so it may just be that he has a battery back there, and I'm plugging in the other microphone just in case we need it here in a little bit, in case this one starts acting up. I don't think it will, but I'm just going to plug this in to charge just in case. Um, Usually I keep my microphones 100% charged all the time, but I've been out all weekend and filmed some while I was out and missed it, completely and totally missed it until I got here. So, all right, so we got the charger here. We've proven that. Now, we got the 12-volt system piece done. Next on my agenda is this garbage here. You guys hear me? All right. Can you hear me now? I don't know what the hell that thing thinks it's doing. All right. That should have it. How long has it been muted? Did it really mute again? How long ago was it? Either way, okay, so we're hooking up um, the shunt. So the shunt has two sets of wires, a positive and a negative to actually run the shunt, which is what I have now. And it gets from that, it gets the voltage. Turn this camera around here. And from that, it gets the voltage. As you can see here, it's 13.1 volts. And it also gets, it'll eventually, I'm going to see if I can clear all of this out. And I don't remember how to do it. So set, I'm going to go around, set amp, set clear. I think I just push and hold. And it did. Okay, so now we have the watt hours zeroed out. Now we need to hook up the shunt is basically measuring voltage on both sides of this, and that little minuscule drop is what it uses to calculate. Oh, okay. So since the neighbor's motorcycles, really we didn't miss a whole lot. I went over and got, what did I get? Oh, I plugged in the old microphones in case we needed them. Ironic, huh? Yeah. So anyway, the shunt is here. I was going to replace this with a new bus bar here in a few minutes, and I'm just going to drop this fuse from one bus bar to the other. But before I did it, I wanted to go ahead and hook up the shunt here. So we're going to connect this shunt. The first set of wires is just a positive and a negative. It gets the voltage from this and everything. The second set of wires goes to the two screws on either side of the shunt. So you can see that here. And on this shunt, it actually is all built into this nice little box here. So the Victron shunt really handles a lot of this a lot nicer than these cheap shunts. But these things, like this one here, you can get this little shunt for probably, I think it was $16.99 or something like that off of Amazon. These are about $102 no matter where you go, but they are the most accurate thing that I have ever found for measuring battery capacity, especially when you've got a bunch of bastard batteries like this. This shunt allows you to put all the batteries on one side, all of the loads on the other, and then everything that goes in and out of this shunt will be measured in a very precise manner to give you an idea how much is in your battery bank. And in this particular case, I got 580 amp hours of 24 volt batteries, so you configure this shunt to do it. Now, over here, it's a little bit different. It doesn't really measure 100% or anything like that. What it basically does is it measures based on voltage, and it measures how much is being pulled through the shunt, and it tells you how much is actually being used. So what we'll do is we'll hook up this other side of this shunt to the wires here, and we will then measure, and we'll turn on the dryer or something and get it to so basically, I just need to take these two leads off. Which are just screws. Man, oh man, that dropped at just the right spot. For once. Usually you drop something like that and it falls down in a crack in between the two batteries on the bottom of the floor. You can't find it. You don't know where it went. Takes you 3 days to get there. Now I got paranoid looking over at my microphone to make sure it's still working. Let's just grab this and get this second one out here. It's a little tighter than I thought it would be. All right. think it's more my fingers were just cold than anything. All right, now we're going to put the second one in on this side. Now there's only, most shunts are measured in milliamps, and what they're telling you is 50 milliamp, 100 milliamp. It's the granularity of accuracy that that shunt can measure. So the higher the number, the higher the accuracy, but also the larger the scale, the less accurate it is. So if you're measuring from 0 to 1,000 amps, you may you're going to be much, if you're registering 0 to 1,000, 0 to 1,000, yeah, 0 to 1,000 amps, like on the bigger shunts, you would basically, sorry, I just need to get these two wires in without shorting them out. Okay, there we go. So now this thing says that there's 30 watts being pulled from this battery. I have no idea on what. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can point that in that direction. Can you see that? I can't tell if you can see that or not. Please let me know if you can. So this shows 0. Oh, it's the idle draw. The idle draw of this is 30.7 watts. Okay, so that's good. So now we're seeing the idle draw. That would allow us to measure that. Now let's put something on there that has a good pull on it that we can measure. We know this was pulling 700 on the low speed, so we'll plug it in and we'll turn on this on the low speed, and it is 750. So if this is accurate, it'll say 780, and it says 808. So it's a little off probably. That is off, or this is off. Now, my suspicion would be that this is probably more accurate than that. And now I can see here that we've got 6 watt hours that have been used, and that's going up. I'm going to crank this up a little bit. And the fan over here has come on. I don't know how much of that fan you guys can hear. And we're up to 13 watt hours, and it's saying 1.6 kilowatts is being drawn. We've got 1.4 here, and we've got 30 in idle. Now the question is how much power does this thing take to actually convert? I would trust this is probably more accurate, but what we will get an idea of it is when we do the real pull. So now we have a device to be able to measure everything. I'm going to shut this off because that's very, very noisy. All right, we'll let that shut down. It is very, very noisy. Sorry about that. Now that this test environment is set up, so I can run the actual discharge test on this, and I can make sure that I can measure everything. I'm going to shut this inverter off, and I'm just going to turn the power off to it, and this should drop down to 0, and it did. It dropped down to 0.4 watts, and my suspicion is that 0.4 watts is on the back side of this. Oh, look at that. Just goes to show, no matter how many times you think you've tightened everything. Now this don't pull much. All it is for the powering of the device, and the device was on the whole time, so it shouldn't have changed anything, but it would cause it to blink every now and then if I move something around. Now they're all tight. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the 24 volt system here. Hopefully everybody got, if there's any questions about the 12 volt system, just let me know. I will put a charger on this tonight, and then tomorrow I'll do a capacity test on it, and we will see what we can pull. I'll probably end up doing 2 tests. I'll do one at, maybe even 3 tests. I'm going to do one at the standard 0.2C to check to make sure that I get 280 amp hours as they suggest. And then I'm going to do another one because it was able to pull that 1400 so easily. I'm going to do a second one at that 115 amps and just let it run. And if this doesn't pop, it will give me an idea if I can, the BMS that's in there is a 200 amp BMS. So that ought to give me an idea if it can do that. And then I may have to put another breaker on there to do a 200 amp test, but we'll see because this can pull 213 amps. That ought to be interesting to see how that works. But, oh, I can put the big breaker over here. That's what I can do for that. Either way, doesn't matter. We're going to move on. I'm going to go to the over here to the 24 volt system. Now on the 24 volt system, I want to replace this fuse. I'm going to put in another bus bar, and I want to move all the positive battery cables to the correct side of the breaker. Right now, I've got one battery cable running here, one battery cable running here. I've got another one over here on this side. I've got another one down here running this way. This one, yeah, this one too. So this needs to all be switched. This is a usage, so that one's okay. This is battery and this is battery. So these two need to come off of here and move to this side, but there wasn't any spots for me to hook them up. So I ended up hooking them up to the fuse itself, which isn't ideal because they're unfused, which is not good. So I'm going to start by just disconnecting the 24 volt system completely. And we will go from there. I'm going to grab the kit that I need to do that real quick, and then we will get started. I'm going to take a quick break and grab a drink. I'll be right back, guys. All right. So politely remind it when I went to get a drink that I have drinks out here. So I grabbed one. All right. Here's where we are. We are going to that is a 14 millimeter. And I think my biggest fear here is that most of these batteries, I'm playing on the unfused side of this circuit. So you got to be very careful not to let one of these 24 volt battery cables drop into a position that's going to cause trouble. So I think what I'm going to start with by doing is I'm going to start by disconnecting the power from this side of it and see if I can get that bus bar mounted first. So if I loosen this and this and this, that should give me enough to be able to disconnect. Whoa, it won't disconnect power because the bottom has batteries also. Okay, so that's not actually necessarily bad. So what we can do is leave one on until the very end, and then that'll keep me from having all the devices over there go dark. So we're going to take this on both sides of this one, pull it off. And that just disconnected those batteries over there. So everything's running on these batteries now. This sensor, so I've got two sensors running to the shunt, And a lot of people ask me, Matt, why do you hook them both to the positive? They're going to give you the same reading. Actually, one is meant for this side of the fuse and one is meant for that side of the fuse. And the reason I do that is because the battery side of the fuse isn't necessarily always the same voltage as the charger side of the fuse. And when you see a large variance in voltage across two sections of your positive, as you saw me testing earlier, voltages at all the different places and making sure it came up the same, it's a sign that there's a bad connection or something going wrong. It could either be a fuse burning out or a wire going bad or a lug overheating or anything like that. So I like to put them in two different places and do it that way. They also got one that is that has a thermostat with it. And that one's actually very good too because it does both. It does the temperature and the thermostat, or temperature and the voltage, which is kind of nice. But that's not, all right. So this, we'll take this. So the intention is to put this here. I think if I move this down just a little bit, is that better? I don't know if that's better or not. Better or worse. We'll put this here, and then we'll move to stretch the fuse from this screw to this screw. And that should allow us... Did I just lose a screw? Really? What the heck? It's one of the... Oh, there it is. I was going to say, what in the world did I just set that down and lost it? We'll put that there, and then we'll just take that fuse and we'll place it in both sides of the first one of these. And that should actually fuse it just like a fuse holder. The difference is I get a bus bar on both sides of it, which I like that. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take this bolt off, which leaves me with a wire that ran to, looks like nothing. Oh, it's the voltage measuring here. Okay, so that shouldn't do anything. But these are live. So what I can do, not sure I want to do. Let's find a way to do this. Oh, let's just get a roll of tape. That's a good idea. Let's just take some electrical tape. And let's pull that off there. That would hurt across my belly, wouldn't it? And then let's take this one. And let's do the same here. Jeez, come off. Okay. I'm going to slide those down there in that little spot down there where they're nice and safe tucked away. They probably would have been fine without the tape on them, but they would only be fine without the tape on them if nothing went wrong. So, take this fuse holder off. I don't really like these fuse holders. The problem I've had with them is the fuse holders themselves, the screws, they work just fine. But these plastic case melts when they get hot. These A&L fuses have a tendency to run at full amperage around 178 degrees. And the plastic melts before it gets there. What the hell are they thinking? Sometimes I'm puzzled by the way these companies think. If they should know that the plastic needs to be more than the temperature before it melts. But yet they do it anyway. All in the name of money, I guess. All these Chinese companies, they just continue to ship this shit, and All right, so we're going to put that straight across. Get this one in on this side. Perfect. And this one should pop out. I can put this screw on this side. Perfect. And then I should be able to put that fuse back in. And then tighten these two down. Actually, this one, instead of using another holder for it, I prefer this one. Came right off of this terminal with the fuse. Since the bottom of this is where the main connection is. I'm worried I'm going to drop one of these nuts and it's going to slide down behind there and I'm not going to be able to get it out. And I'm going to be a nut short all night, or I'm going to sit here live with you guys watching me dig through the back of this trying to figure out where the hell the nut went. Okay. Now we can tighten this fuse down. And that's fuses this side of the bus bar to that side of the bus bar. It's perfect. It's actually a really, really good solution because now I know that when it gets hot, that this thing isn't going to melt and drop that fuse in the middle of all this stuff. So I like that solution much better. Now, let's put these batteries back on the way they came. It shouldn't be anything because they're still very, very close in voltage. I missed that trash can, by the way, which is why I'm here instead of playing basketball. Almost lost it that time. Not quite. And this second one. And making sure my microphone is still working. It is. I do want to say thank you to you guys. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. I broke 19,000 subscribers. Was it 19,000? Let me just take a look real quick. It's kind of a feat. Let's just see how many we're up to. We were up to 19,054 subscribers. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing you guys have done. The popularity has just been fantastic. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And nights like this are the fun ones. Although sometimes they can be boring. Some of us do enjoy it more than just the straight out videos. All right, now let's transfer the two batteries that are on the wrong side of this scenario over to this side so that they're all the batteries, like the shunt side where all the negatives go through the shunt, on the batteries on the positive side, all the batteries go through the fuse. Now it doesn't protect the individual batteries. But it does protect, it does protect the overall bank. from a massive short. All right, that's that one. And let's go ahead and tighten that down since it wants to wiggle, giggle, and jiggle. Okay, there's that. And then I've got one last one here, which is, that's a charger. That's this one. Oh, but I was losing my mind. Ended up with two. They're both off of this side. I'm taking them off over here and putting them on over there and leaving the screws in my hand. There we go. All right. 4 for 4 now. 4 batteries. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That completes that piece of it. That looks a lot cleaner than it did. Now, I'm still not happy with all these damn cables scattered all over the damn place. This looks like a freaking rat's nest, but at least everything will calculate and measure correctly now. The breaker or the fuse will fuse the batteries so that if we have a short that I don't just continue feeding it from half of the batteries. The 12 volt system is hooked up and running. I want to check that idle again, just out of curiosity. Yeah, jumped up to 40 watts when it first comes on. Let's see if it drops back down to 30 where it was before. It has a remote mode where you can hook up the remote to turn it off and on. That would be nice if you had like an RV or something and wanted to do it. I wish it had a charger in it too. That would be very nice. I got to get the grounding block over here, connect that to the main ground so that we can ground all this stuff properly, because right now this is a little bit scary not being grounded correctly. We want that one common ground across it. All right. I think that's it for the night. I think I've got everything switched over that needs to be switched over for tomorrow. We could do the capacity test. What I'll do is I'm going to turn this back off, and I am going to put this battery back on the charger. So I'm going to charge that battery off of this battery. It would be an interesting project, and it would be a fun one to do. And if I had the patience right now to do it, I would do it. I would like to take the 24 volt input from this side and feed it into a charge controller, a Victron. I have a Victron 20 amp charge controller. A Victron 20 amp charge controller into this battery. Instead of using this, it certainly would go a whole lot faster. And it should work because the power coming from this is 24 volts, is higher than that, so it should have everything it needs to be able to pull a perfectly consistent thing. It wouldn't pull more than 10 amps from this side, and the conversion rate would be much more efficient. You know what? I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a project worth doing. I'm going to look around and see if I can find that charge controller that I've got sitting, that other Victron charge controller I've got sitting here somewhere. And, oh, I know where it is. Oh, I can't do that, can I? Damn. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can. I may have to disappear for a few minutes to do it, but I got to go get that Victron charge controller out of the coffee trailer, because that's the only other one I have, is that one out there. So it'll take me a second to go out there and get it, but it should be only a couple of screws that I need to disconnect. Let me think about this. It's going to be just like this one here, so I've probably got it screwed in, and I've got a couple of screws across here that I can undo. I should be able to get it out pretty easily. I'm going to need a flashlight and nothing more really. Okay, give me just a minute. I will talk while I am there, and I will be right back with you guys. And we will hook up I'm going to hook up a charge controller that's fed from a 24 volt system to transfer power to a 12 volt system. I'd love to be able to transfer power from the 24 volt system to a 48 volt system, but it don't work going up. It only works going down. But even that would be much better than wasting all that damn power going through this, where it basically takes in 110 watts and outputs 60, maybe 70 at best. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to keep talking while I'm doing this, though, so that you guys can not be completely drifting out there. Grab my phone for a flashlight. All right. Went into the house and grabbed my phone. I left my phone on the charger. I haven't had it with me all night. That's why I've been struggling without a calculator. And I am going to open this case here. Oh yeah, just what I thought. It's just got a couple of wires. Should be able to just loosen these. Oh, those use those little screwdrivers. I got to come back and get a little screwdriver, because this is the Victron 20 amper. Has these little screws, these little common head screws, not the standard big Phillips head that the other ones have. So I will find one here that fits. I don't know if this one fits or if I have to get one of the little bitty ones. That one fits. Okay. All right, I'm back out here now. I'm going to get my flashlight to work correctly. Change the flashlight software on the iPhone. So now it's got this little intensity dial you have to turn up. It seems like it's always turned down on me for some reason. This will be very interesting if this works the way I think it's going to work. If not, it'll certainly be fun. Hopefully it's not disastrous. Don't think so, though, because it's no different than having a solar panel feed in that's 24 volt solar panel. And I know it's going to need exactly what amperage it's going to need, so it won't overpull. Power should be nice and clean, shouldn't be a problem there. Let's do this. There's one hidden screw in here, and I'm just having problems getting to it and holding the case open at the same time. It wants to follow my head. Okay, that might work. Now, let me see if I can get... There we go. All right, I got it out. I'm on my way back. You guys in a second. All right, here we are, guys. We are back. So what I did is I pulled the charge controller out of the coffee trailer, because with the intentions that I have to change it over to 100% off-grid coffee trailer, this one won't be big enough to support that anyway. So, same as that there. Just, all right, so now, let's see what we got here that we can use to do this with. We know we are going to pull, for the 24 volt side, 10 amps. And we know we're going to put in 20 amps on that side over there. So this should be pretty easy to... Oh, look at this. I got the original charge wires still here from the 20 amp charger that came out of this when it was actually in the coffee trailer. Okay, so what we'll do is we will take these, we'll put the positive here, and we will put the, no we won't. We'll put the positive over here. And the negative there on the bus bar. Okay, that'll work just fine. And that will allow us to do the where is that screwdriver at? Okay. So, let's see what we got to do here to make this work. We got to that was pretty easy. We could go from there to there. Positive there to there. Okay, so that one works too. So we'll just set this up here. Then, for the battery side of things, oh, that is the battery side. Then all we need is the load side. Oh, so we need to go from this to that. So we need two battery side. That's not what I was thinking. Let's see what we got here. We got a couple of pieces of... Oh, you know what we can do? Duh, we'll just use PV wire. It's perfect. We can run straight off of this side, straight into there. No big deal. All we need to do is put a couple of connectors on the end here. And we can run the negative right off of that. positive right off of that. Goes in like this to the load side. Or no, the PV side, I'm sorry. We'll call it PV. Yeah, this ought to be fun. Okay. Let's see. On this end, we need ferrules. And on this end, we need so we need some ferrules. Really, really tight fitting, small ferrules. So that everything, just trying to do everything over here so you guys can see. I don't know if these cameras are, let's see if that points down a little bit more where we can get to this. So apologize for the no workbench here, but I'm going to put this like over here. That way later when I say, where the hell did I put those screws for that, I'll know where, go back on there. Okay, let's find a couple of ferrules for this first. Looks like these two sides right here is probably about right. Actually, that might be too big. Maybe. Let's see if I can get it to fit on. I really want a nice tight fit because those holes that these go in on the charge controllers are really, really small on these 20 ampers. They're not made for big cables. And therefore, you got to have the patience to get everything just right. You got to have the eyesight too. It's that seemed to be lacking tonight. Oh, wait, there we go. Oh, no. Oh, I thought I had it. Nope. I'm going to have to trim this. Do another stripping on these wires are just too frailed for that. Was wishful thinking, but it we just need some. We'll just cut these off. Cut these off and make a nice clean end, and then we'll strip it brand new. Wow. Come on. Thank you. Then we'll try to get these ferrules into that. No, that is just not the right size. I think I'm just going to have to go with the one size bigger. No matter how much I try, I don't think I'm going to get that on. Okay. Now I can't get it out of there. Okay, there it goes. Whoops, I just pulled the divider out of the two. Now they're both in the same chamber. Great. All right. So on these, we're just going to put that ferrule over, make sure you get all the little strands in there. We'll crimp it down. I like to crimp it twice just to make sure. And then I need to make sure this is actually going to fit in here before I go much further, because if it doesn't, there's no reason to go to all the trouble of crimping on the other ends. Although it should, because these are standard PV wires, so it should fit in with no problem. not sure I understand what the hell's going on here. Oh, I see. Those are the weirdest terminal blocks. I run into this problem every time I work with these little Victron charge controllers, these little 20s. They're like, trim off all this little shag at the end here. See if I can get these to fit in. Yeah, I don't know. I may have to just go with raw wire in order to get it to fit, which is kind of crazy, but that's what it looks like. I'm not sure I understand that. That terminal looks damaged. The terminal looks damaged on my end. It had burnt a little bit before when I forgot to do a connection on it, but this time it looks worse. It looks like it's seriously damaged this time. Not just a little oops, you forgot to tighten the terminal, but oh, I see. It's just closed. Ah, okay. That makes more sense. Okay. All right, so we got two different things we got to hook up here. Let's figure out how. This one we know pretty much how it's going to come down. It's going to be the PV things. I think we can shut this off. We can connect these and let's just see if I can get this to work here. At some point, we got to get something connected. That's what it comes down to. Okay, so that does fit. So that is then we're going to put that there. And then we're going to still got everybody here? Yeah. All right. So we're going to hook this charge controller up to a 24 volt feed, a 12 volt charge, a 12 volt system. We're going to see how this is going to work. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work. It all comes down to just power size. Both the input is going to be 10 amps coming from 24 volts going to 20 amps going to 12 volts. It should be 10 times more efficient than coming from pulling it out of a little charger. So we're going to find out. I just need to hook up a few more items here. I'm going to add this feed here for the positive, and I'll put the negative down there on the bus. I don't want to put any more on the fuse, on the breaker down there. Let's slide that off. Slide that on. Another lucky drop where it fell right where I can get to it instead of down somewhere where I can't find it. All right. There's one. 3 more. And then the second one is that's not it. That's not it. That's those 2 wires. Where did the other one? Oh, it's right here. Okay, so we're going to get this one in here. These are really tight fits. Love to see this on a much bigger scale, but this is the only charge controller I have. It's not in use. Except some piece of Chinese junk, and I'm not going to trust some piece of Chinese junk for this. Oh, damn, Victron. There's one tight fit. Still seems like that should loosen a little bit more. Let's just try it. Of course it did. Okay. Now let's take this one, put it on the bus bar. Oh, stupid camera. Really? Still got you pointed way up there? Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So now we got the second wire. Just gonna. This ought to allow us to. This is the battery side. We're hooked up on the battery side here, which will then allow us to turn it on and configure the voltage and everything. It's very important on a Victron. Other than the very first time you turn it on, you have to tell it to change the voltage and override it with a special pin. It does not do it for you. It will not automatically change. So you have to do it. So here we go. We are going to go into, I'm going to go into, turn this on. And the light did come on. I hope you guys can see that. It says it's in bulk mode, which is what it should be if it had solar panels or if it had a battery hooked up to it, which is what it does at this point. It has the battery. We don't have solar panels yet because solar panels are going to be these batteries, but we'll get there. Let's look at, come over here to the Victron app. I don't know if you guys can see that. This way, no, nothing. I'll just do it then. So this is this solar pack, which is where this came out of. And we're going to go into battery and we're going to change it to 12 volts. It's going to ask me for a pin. As I stated it would do. Change that to 12 volts. I'm going to turn off charging. Yep, that's good. I want it off for now. And all right, so that's on. And then I just want to check. It says it's on a smart lithium iron, 14.2 charge voltage, float 13.5. It looks like it's got all of the configurations set, 0.5 absorption time, 2 hours, blah, blah. Okay, that looks good. That'll be a good charge. This will make my testing tomorrow very easy because this will ensure that everything is fully charged, and it'll make charging it easier for the test because I can just flip this back on and say charge, and it'll tell me exactly how much power it puts in there because it'll measure it, and it'll tell me how accurate this is for the discharge. This is really, really good. Okay. All right, so this is saying that the Victron device sitting at idle like this is using a 1/2 watt to run it. That's pretty cool. 1/2 watt to run idle. All right, now let's take a look at the next phase, which is to get it battery power. This part is a little bit more tricky because how do I do this? I think what I want to do is I want something with a switch on it. I can use this where I can turn it on and turn it off. Let's just see. Let's just see what we got here. This should not be that difficult to make work that way. I can hook this to the battery, to the positive battery post. I can run the wire connection cable through this. That way I can turn it off and on safely, or at least turn it off and on. Whether or not safely or not is another question at this point. Right, let's take, got one hell of a mess here tonight. Woof. All right. Disconnect this cable. And I'm going to zip tie here holding this on. We're going to snip that. All right, and then we need to feed I think what we need to do is we need to, oh, you know what we need to do? We just need to put a couple terminals on. Okay, that's what we need to do. We need to cut a couple of terminals on these. And we can connect that to the positive one over there. So the first terminal I need is this. Wow, that's a huge ass terminal. That's 3/8. Okay. Let me go see if I've got a 10 gauge to 3/8 connector terminal that I can use. It looks like that's it right there. Just make sure before I come back, and kind of. Let's make sure that fits the battery terminal. And it does. Okay, and that's the one we're going to use. We're going to take that and crimp it on there. Let me see if I can. Awful little bitty crimper here. Let's just I'm going to turn this camera here so that you can see me do this crimping here in this little workspace. I'll just switch it over to that camera like this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this and this ought to be interesting. This ought to be interesting. Alright. I need a small size crimping tool. Thanks, Neil. Glad to have you. We'll see you. If you're going already, we'll see you next time. If you're not, we'll see you next time. Either way, this ought to be this ought to be an interesting test. And this is a hydraulic crimper, so it's just going to basically swoosh these wire in here and bond these for me, so I don't have to worry about them coming off. Probably could have done it with just a normal, small as it is, a normal crimper, a normal clamp, but I don't think that. Nope, that's not small enough. A little bit smaller. That was a 6. Hopefully I have a 4. Oh, I do. Good. Put the 4 in here. Fortunately, I noticed that before I pulled on it. I was like, that doesn't look like that's quite tight enough. Okay. I might just switch this to a normal, since it's only going to be pulling 20 amps. I might just switch this to a normal crimped, not crimped, a normal, yeah, a normal inched lug, you know, where you just use a crimping. This is, yeah, that looks like it's okay. Alright, so we'll try that. Alright, now this is the positive PV, so that goes in here. I don't like that at all. So we're going to do what we did before. Cut that. How you guys doing out there? There we go. Put it on this view here. Seems to be the best view for this. And then we're going to crap. I missed a couple little strands there. I think I'm just going to trim them off. Do as I say, not as I do type scenario here. There it goes. And, oh, there. I was going to say, and now I can't find the screwdriver. I just need to make sure that's actually in the positive. It is. Okay. Really would like for that to tighten down a little bit more. Just doesn't quite want to. There it goes. All right, good. Now let's do the negative. That's the positive. The positive comes to this. We're going to switch this to the off. We're going to connect the positive here. Seriously? Oh, put the wrong one on? Certainly did. I don't think I have a bigger one. Nope. That's it. Okay, so that means we do need to switch to the other type of end. So let's get one of those and make sure that's going to work. I have them over here. One of these. Just use one of these. This will most likely fit that perfectly. It does. And I don't know why I didn't just do that in the first place. Live and learn. You know how it is. Snip that off. Strip it again. Come find the crimping tool. And put that puppy right in there. Nice fit. Can't tell. Looks like it did. And we want yellow. And good. All right. Now, connect this to this. And put this here. Let's tighten this down. This has turned out to be a much bigger project than I kind of anticipated. I was hoping for a quick solution, but tell me it ain't a fun one. Let's attach this somewhere real quick. Let's just put this back on here, and then let's just screw it onto the wall here or something. Maybe like right there. And then we can run that over there. Yeah, let's do that. For just the sake of making sure that nothing moves on us. goes where it's not supposed to go or doesn't do what it's supposed to do. This is just a okay. All right, now we can connect this one because we have an off-on switch here. Put it on the load side. Oops, put that upside down. That's gonna be. And you go there. And we tighten you. There. All right, so now, before we do the last piece, let's just make sure we got the right voltage in the right places, because this will be really ugly if we don't. Just need a meter. Here we go. Set the meter up. Probably see that. And we got here to here, 26.4 volts. Here to here, nothing. Here to here, 26.49, 26.49. Okay. And we're going to shut this back off. And we're going to do the last wire, which is the negative. And this one just needs to go from here to there. Easy. Bing, bang. And we're done. All right. So we had a piece of quite sure that we had a piece of wire we already picked out for this. And I'm quite sure that, oh, there it is. Okay, we know we can't do that, so we are going to just cut this off. And got to put that small one on here. And I'm just going to put this small ferrule on. Oh, man, that is the hardest PV wire to strip. And we got to use this little one. Here. All right. There we go. That's good. Like the other one, it does have like a couple of strands here that jump out, but it doesn't fit if I put in the if I put it in the next size ferrule that holds all of the strands. So we just got to cut a couple of them off. Now the nice thing is it's only going to be pulling 10 amps. And this is PV wire is way better rated than that. Oh, and then I think we're just going to do the quick fix like we did last time. Use the same type of connector. Just take this connector. Push it on there. Find the right crimping tool now that we have practically every one of them in the building over here. Take me a month just to clean this place up. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. That slid right in. That is really nice. Okay, now screwdriver. In. Off. We're going to connect you to the last terminal over here. We're almost there. We're going to be cranking out the amps here in a minute. Okay. And let's do a check on all of our battery cables. We have this one, which was that. We have this one, which is that. And we have this one, which was that. And this one, which is that. Now we find out if this works. And I need to find a way to show you this app when I do this so that you can see it too. I think you can see that. I wonder if I can turn down the brightness. Aha, look at that. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so we have the charger turned off. So check that. It says 12 volts. It's showing 14.2 absorption voltage. It's showing that the battery is at 13.2. I turn the charger off, right? Charger is off. So let's turn on what would be considered the PV, which is the 24 volt. No smoke, that's good. And look at that, 26.6 volts. Now let's turn on the PV, or let's turn on the charger. And here it goes. Charging at 20 amps. Pulling 10.8, charging at 20. All right, now before we go any further, I'm going to go get a thermal camera. And I'm going to turn on the thermal camera. We're going to take a peek at this thing before we see the smoke. Let's check for the this thing says it's getting 270 amps. I want to check what Victron says also. Let's make sure that they match. 282. That's pretty damn close. 271, 282. Wow, okay. Now we're going to turn on the thermal camera. I can't believe this worked as well as it did, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't be surprised when it does. All right. Let me see if I can get this. There we are. Connect. Yes. Come on. Hurry up. There it goes. Okay. So let me put this where you can see this. And let's point it right here at the charge controller itself. It's showing. It can't be right. So it was showing. See if you guys can see that. Showing in excess of 200 degrees, but only on that fuse. And I've never seen. See, those fuse don't get that hot that I've seen. It's showing 160. I shut it off because, as you can see, I mean, look at that. That's 160 degrees. But it's only on the fuse. The wires and the charge controller itself seems to be fine. That fuse is cooking. Amazingly, it doesn't look very good either. Fuse looks kind of goofy. Turn it back on. So you can see there it's at 110. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's over 200 degrees on that fuse. Why isn't that fuse just popping? All right, let's check the rest of this real quick while it's going. These connectors here, the hottest thing on these is the actual piece of metal they connect to that goes into the device, as I suspected. It's only at 75 degrees, no big deal there. That one's at 80 degrees. This whole bus bar is 73. The off-on switch. That's not right. Oh, okay, 80. All right. Yeah, I think I'll replace that fuse tomorrow before I let this run for any length of time. And that may have been damaged from when it originally had that problem. It looks like this one runs really hot, although it's not really hot right now. It's only that fuse. cables, the battery cables themselves showing nothing. So nothing here looks of any alarm except that fuse, and I honestly don't know if that's normal or not. But it is the actual fuse, which I know I've seen the A&L fuse, that one, running at 178 before, but tonight it's cold, but it doesn't have any real voltage going through it. I mean, 10 amps isn't going to be a good test. So as you can see here, that's the part that's got me concerned, is that fuse. But I am not. It's interesting that the color of this too. I wonder if this thing got hot while it was in the show the the solar, running the solar for the coffee trailer, because it certainly doesn't look like it is a huge deal, like it's doing anything special. I mean, it's pumping in 275 watts, no doubt there. I mean, it is working, and it is running at full speed. It's pulling 10.9 amps here, pumping in 20 amps there, working exactly as I would expect it to work. And that is a 25 amp fuse, so if it pulled more than 25 amps, that's when it would pop, but it's not going to because it's only pulling 20. I'll have to check that one tomorrow and see what it does when it's like that. So this is saying it's pulling 275 and it's pushing 283. So magic miracle, we're gaining 8 watts in the conversion, which we know isn't true. That just means that one isn't as accurate as I had hoped it was, or this charger is not as accurate. Either way, this is certainly a whole lot better than the conversion that was coming out of that charger. This was 102 amps watts out, and it was only putting in about 60. So it was 40% loss. This one is almost 8. This one's a 4% gain, which I don't think is really true, but let's see if we can figure out. So current 20 amps coming in, that is definitely that battery. Okay, so then the question becomes, how big is it? DJJBD model blah blah blah. $280 amp hours. Interesting. It appears to be working as intended. I don't know what else to do, guys. I think we're done. It looks like everything's working the way it should be working. Uh, it's charging just fine. The only thing we got to worry about is that stupid fuse. I'll check it tomorrow. I'll turn it off for the night, and I'll check this one in the morning when it hits a bunch of solar, and we'll see. It'll hit solar about 10 a.m. It'll let me know how much it's really going to affect it and everything. But this is a good test. We got a lot done tonight. We got new bus bars installed. We got the way the fuse holders work. Not only did we get the 12-volt system, the setup system for it, but we also got to play with a charge controller to charge it from a 24-volt system and prove that actually works. And I think everything is ready now for the test. I've got a huge ass mess to clean up. I got tools everywhere. I got things set up all over the place. But um, look, we're operating. Everything's a go. Um, hopefully you guys had a good time tonight. We'll see you on the next one. And thanks again for all the subscriptions. 19 plus thousand users and subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the next one.